Okay, welcome everybody to Lego Harry Potter Years 1 through 4. We're going to be playing Fast Any Percent today, so we're putting in the no-cut code to be able to skip cutscenes. I'm CaptainPaxo, and joining me on commentary today is...
Hi, I'm Champion.
Right, so I guess right away let's get this started. We're going to have quite a lot to talk about in this run, so let's just get going. Okay, so we'll start time in... let's say 3, 2, 1, go.
Alright, so as the name suggests, this is LEGO Harry Potter Years 1 through 4, covering the first 4 movies, mostly adapted from the films. This is the prequel to the Potter 7 game we saw earlier today. And while they're both pretty broken in their own right, they are very different games. If you were there for that game, you maybe saw some level skipping, sequence breaking, and there's a lot less of that in this game, but there's still plenty of movement skips and interesting pieces of tech. But starting us off here, we don't have very many abilities at our disposal in the first level, so the puzzles are pretty simple and there isn't too much to skip, but we gotta make a potion here with some 2C shenanigans. And then we'll be into the Gringotts here to activate Harry's vault. And you'll notice that Paxo is avoiding studs where possible, since this is a game where you're able to get 0 studs in the first level, which does save some time. So we'll see in the vault section there is a kill plane where you can lose some studs on. So we'll see Paxo try and get to 0 studs on that probably.
Yeah, so we can lose about 1,000 studs a death. So the idea is I want to enter with less than 2,000 studs on player 1 and less than 2,690, I think, on player 2. That means we can get 2 deaths with player 1 and a 3 death with player 2, which is the most optimal.
Got a good RNG there with the stud drops off that. The blue stud there not falling into you. And he gets a swap right before he dies there to take a death without having to get all the extra time loss of waiting to respawn there. And that's really good room to get down to 0 hearts or 0 studs there.
Yeah, that was about as smooth as you could get, really.
Yeah, really good with the stud drops in that level. So now that we have that level out of the way, we're plopped into Hogwarts Castle here, where we get to see some of the hub. And this game has 2 different kinds of main story splits. There's the lessons and the levels. So that was the first level there, and the level puts you in a segment of the game that you cannot access directly from the hub after you beat it the first time. Whereas the lessons are just a room in the hub that gives you some ability for beating them. So we're on to Wingardium Leviosa here, but first we have a bit of a hub section, encountering a bunch of obstacles in our path on the way there. So first there's this dresser in the way that eats some pair of trousers there, and now we're going to have to clear this staircase out of the way in this next room. Bit of foreshadowing here for later, I guess. That is the entrance to the last level of the first movie right there, when we come back to it eventually.
Yeah, this year 1 especially, the game's great at foreshadowing what happens. Unfortunately, we skipped the cutscene in 1-2 where you literally see Professor Quirrell pretty much admit to putting the troll down in the dungeons, but...
Yeah, this game doesn't worry about trying to keep the suspense going for people that haven't seen the movies.
Which is kind of a shame, because I think I played the game before I actually saw the movies for the first time.
So into Wingardium Leviosa we go. It's a relatively straightforward lesson. There's 3 students that are stuck on some chandeliers because Ron accidentally put them there during the cutscene. So the goal of the lesson is just to rescue the 3 of them. So there's one down here on the right that Paxo just rescued with Hermione, and now up top here there's two more, and Paxo's gonna rescue these at around the same time and overlap the cutscenes of both of them getting rescued with the animation of the reward for the lesson here. So they both get rescued at the same time, and while that's resolving, the reward for the lesson will come out, saving a bit of time there.
Yeah, I think you only have a few frames to get both of them at the same time, but it's just lenient enough that it's consistent, thankfully.
Yeah, that is a good thing. So we are now on to the next level here, out of the dungeon, which is the part of the movie where the troll attacks. But first, we have a bit of some hub optimization here. So we need to go to the Grand Hall, which is through the middle at the bottom of the screen, which requires putting these three colored pieces together. But also, while that animation is resolving, we can activate this door here, which we'll need for later in the run, once we need to go outside. And we'll do a bit of that again here, actually, since we need to open this door to the Great Hall, which requires a bit of maneuvering of these pieces that are stuck in the bookshelf and the weather thing, but also there is this door to Hogsmeade over here that eventually we'll need once we enter year 3. So we'll do a bit of that. There's 4 steps you need to open that door, and we thankfully enter that room about 4 times, so during that time we'll try and get most of that completed. Now on to our first warp of the run. Paxo's gonna get on top of this bookshelf over here and do something known as a pet warp, where you use Wingardium Leviosa as a character is putting down a pet, and it warps them to the default location of the room. But if you displace your character's position while that happens, it actually warps the character instead of the pet, which is how he bypassed the troll there and skipped some cutscenes and a whole puzzle involving a rat. So that saves a ton of time in this room. It skips most of the intended gameplay. Then we just need to use this statue to spawn in these pieces, and then use these pieces to get some girl hair so that you can enter the female bathroom, which allows you to continue the boss fight in this level.
Yeah, you're going to see in a lot of places the pet warping and wrong warping that we did is just going to break this game wide open. We don't have as many level skips as 5 through 7 does, but we have a lot more kind of in-level strats that we can use to our advantage.
Yeah, the pet warping does work in like every room of the game, but most of them it doesn't really do anything. But the ones where it does do something, it tends to be very useful. And there's a couple of rooms that we enter many times that have a useful pet warp in that we'll see throughout this run. Very powerful piece of tech. So this boss fight is mostly just waiting around for the troll to go through its animations. Then once he finally is done with his animations, you can throw some pieces of the ceiling at him.
Too close. If you stand a bit too close, he does that attack animation, which it's quite annoying, but oh well. There we go, that's second level done.
Yep. So we're already to the second level, but this first year has a lot of lessons in it. So we're actually going to have 4 lessons in a row here before we get into another level. Paxo is going to put another piece of the statue in while on his way to this next lesson, which is Lumos. And Lumos is used to clear vines, but it's also really broken because it allows for a piece of movement tech called Lumos jumping. We're not going to see it in this lesson, but basically, when you have Lumos activated, you have a different jump than when you don't have Lumos activated. And for a brief period after you switch off of Lumos, you can still use that Lumos jump, meaning that if you jump quickly twice after deactivating Lumos, you can get both your Lumos jump and your normal jump back to back, which gives you a double jump. And this is a game that has no characters that are supposed to be able to double jump, so being able to double jump is very broken. As
Yeah,
it turns out.
yeah. Basically, the game's not designed to cope with that extra bit of jump height, so you can just abuse a lot of things that way.
For sure. So we're on to Strength Potion next, which is in the right side of this room over here. And this, I think we used this potion a couple of times. The thing about this game is a lot of the abilities you unlock are not like something that gets used all the time. Outside of the spells, which tend to get used a decent amount, we definitely make a couple strength potions, but it's not really something used all that much in this game. We tend to skip potions as much as possible, especially later in the game. Just gonna skip the animation of finishing drinking the potion by shooting him right when he's done with it there. And that is the whole lesson, pretty short strength potion there.
Yep, and now we're going to see first Lumos jump. One of the
Yeah,
harder
this-
ones in the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to work. There we go. So you can see I activated Lumos, then switched off the spell, and immediately was able to jump twice, and that got me the height I needed to get over and avoid getting caught by the student / filch that's up there.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be able to get up to this area yet. This is the Transfiguration lesson, which is actually an optional lesson, so you don't need to play this one to beat the game. But Transfiguration is also a very broken spell, and it's faster to play Transfiguration and get the ability than to not play it. So we have it routed in right here, because this is the closest you come to that mission.
There we go.
Yeah, these dummies can be a little bit bad sometimes. They're not the greatest AI, but that's the Transfiguration lesson done, and we're gonna see a pet warp immediately after this lesson here, since the main class hub has a pet warp location that is pretty useful. Skipping a lot of the movement in that room. And now we'll be out that door that we opened earlier, which leads to the courtyards outside, since we're on our way to Lumos Solum in the greenhouse room. But first, there's a bit of a cutscene skip done here. So this knight is also something that's not required to be built, but if you enter that transition like right as the cutscene starts, it skips the pretty lengthy animation of that knight being built. And the reason we do that now is because that spawns in this plunger vehicle that is useful for a skip in year 2 when we re-enter that room. So we're doing that now since this is the fastest time to activate that. But we'll use that later on. This lesson is relatively straightforward. You just need to shoot all these flowers, and that builds this cart that allows you to break through the vines and rescue Ron. This is kind of an interesting spell because it basically just replaces the Lumos that we already have. It's just like a stronger Lumos. It's not like a new spell, really. It's just like a better Lumos version than the one that we already have. I think they were just looking for extra content for the game when they made this lesson here.
Yeah, I guess it introduces you to the greenhouse, which we will revisit once more in year 2. But yeah, it does seem to be a bit out of place as a level. As a lesson.
Yeah. Then we have broomstick flying here, where you learn to fly the broom, as you might be able to tell from its name. You fight this gargoyle boss here to get Neville's Rememberald back. There's a lot of context in the cutscene, but of course we skipped the cutscene, so we didn't get that context. But from beating that lesson, we get the ability to use the broomstick flying, and now we're off to Quidditch. But first, a pet warp again. since there's another location in this room, and this is one that we use a number of times actually. Since there's a couple of hub rooms that all warp to that same location there. Now
Mind if I read a quick donation?
Yeah, go right ahead.
We got $25 from Soviet Blobfish that says we need those Bionicle Heroes glitches showcased. Good luck, Paxo. And with that, the Bionicle Heroes glitch showcase incentive has been met. So after the Bionicle Heroes run, there'll be a 20-minute glitch showcase. I don't know what to expect, but it should be pretty interesting. So be sure to look forward to that.
Nice, yeah, that's really cool. That'll be a fun one to see.
Yeah, for sure. So this whole courtyard had a strength potion in it, and it's actually possible to skip this strength potion, and that's done in the year 1 individual runs. But because you go through here so many times and you have to do the skip every single time you go through, it ends up not being fast for full game runs. But it's still pretty cool little pair of Lumos jumps you can do to get over that barrier. And during this movement, the pumpkins are going to get cleared from in front of Hagrid's garden, which we'll need to get into his garden for the Buckbeak lesson in year 3. We are now on to the Quidditch level, though we don't actually play any Quidditch in this level. We are in the stands. And we're going to get to see Transfiguration's power here. So you can turn a player into a frog or a rat at random, and then if you hug a wall, you can just jump straight up the wall, which again is very broken. It's a bit of a slower piece of tech than Lumos jumping, since it takes about 10 seconds for the animation to resolve, but it can get you over very tall walls and skip a lot of rooms. Like, we just skipped the entirety of that room, being able to do that. And we'll have a couple more Lumos jumps here towards the end of this level to skip more pieces. But we are going to re-enter this last room here to skip a camera pan cutscene, save a little bit of time there, and then Lumos jump to the end of this room.
Yep, that's one of the most satisfying levels when you get it all together like that, especially that last room.
Yeah. That's a super quick level. It's definitely not supposed to be that fast, but that skip in the first room skips so much content.
Yep. I mean, we have so many other ways to break that room. Like, if you were watching Origin's run yesterday, then you would have seen 2 other ways that we break that room, both with a flag jump and with a broom clip as well. So it's, yeah, quite a fun one.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff in that level. So, on our way back here, we need to head over to the Gryffindor Common Room. We're gonna see a jump done here on this bridge.
Almost.
The reason we do that is
there we go.
because we want the bridge to remain down so we can do a pet warp off of the bridge, which saves quite a bit of time. Since we head... the pet warp location there puts you right next to Hagrid's greenhouse, or Hagrid's house, excuse me. And since you go towards Hagrid's house a lot of times in the run, it ends up being a pretty big time save throughout the run from leaving that bridge down. And onto the restricted section. There's been a lot of context given during these cutscenes, but we're on to a part of the game where we're trying to figure out where the Philosopher's Stone came from. And we're now in the restricted section, and usually there's a big... There is a... Oh, I did not know that was a thing. Huh.
I mean, okay, it isn't, that's why. I just got run down onto the lower rail, and with the because you can't jump when transfixed, it just meant I couldn't get back up.
We're gonna be able to get over this wall and hit the trigger to the next room, skipping this whole puzzle with a potion in this room. It's a pretty interesting one, though. The wall has a lot of strange collision there. And we're going to do that again in this room, since you can once again get over this barrier without completing the puzzle with Transfiguration. This is one of the levels that saves a lot of time with that trick.
Yeah, this wall's a lot easier to go over, so able to
Yeah.
get that one nice and quickly.
This is another level that is really short in the speed run, but that's just because we skipped so much content. Because after this room, we're already in the last room of the level, and barely even played anything. So this is the fourth level of the first episode already done. We've already completed all the lessons in this episode as well, so we just have the 2 levels left. We're going to go to the Forbidden Forest next after this one, and we'll get to see that warp I was talking about on the way to Hagrid's hut here, once we get to that point in the hub.
Yeah, so the warp itself is gonna look pretty quick, but what's gonna happen is it's not just during the warp. Basically, when I then do the warp with player 2, I have to be holding down and mashing the jump button to be able to jump basically up along an invisible wall to be able to get back onto the surface, because you spawn just below the surface.
Yeah. This was one of the warps that wasn't found
Nice.
right away. Excellent. Because you're kind of spawned out of bounds, it wasn't so obvious that that was actually a useful one right away, but it ends up being very useful. And going off of the levels that are really quick, this is another level that's super broken with all the pieces of tech we have. Lumos jumping really tears this one apart. And there's also a drop-in warp you can do right there to get Fang up top early to skip having to get him up here as well. This next room, we're just going to see like 3 Lumos jumps in a row, and then all of a sudden the level's going to be over. It's another very fast one.
There we go, second try on that one's not bad. That one's really tough because you have to kind of make contact with the wall at the peak of your jump to be able to get over. Trying to go for a quick Lumos jump here. There we go. That was very nicely done, actually.
Yeah. Good split there. And now, after all these really fast-paced quick levels, we have a bit of a slower-paced one to end off the episode here. Not as many opportunities for movement skips in this level, here, the final level of the first episode, but there's still some interesting stuff in this level.
Yeah, there's a lot of minor optimizations in here rather than big things as much.
Yeah.
So we're going to say, yeah, so right here what I'm going to do is I'm actually holding down the build button kind of before I see kind of the purple ring around the objects, and that just means you get a first frame build, which is just, can be used in a lot of places just to save a few frames here and there.
There's actually quite a few things in this game where like you can get certain things on first frames by holding down buttons or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just a really small optimization that is easy to do and saves a decent amount of time over the course of the run. This room we have to rescue or get rid of all the keys surrounding the big key to get out to the next room. This level, it's mostly just playing the intended gameplay as quick as possible, trying to route it so that you have minimized amount of downtime. And if you're standing still when you're pressing the attack button, you actually shoot faster than if you're moving. That's another little piece of game tech in this game. And for the chest section, you can interrupt the attack animation and instantly kill the enemy chess pieces. Sometimes if you attack them while, or if you shoot them, while they're attacking, you're going to see Paxo do that a couple times here to interrupt these attack animations.
Don't know how I missed that one, but oh well. Yeah, I think each one of those saves maybe about a couple of seconds, depending on which piece it is, so...
Yeah. They're kind of hard to aim sometimes, though.
Yeah.
They don't auto-target, so you actually have to line them up. And after that, we're on to a boss fight here with Quirrell. This is another, much like the Troll boss fight, it's not exactly a super interesting one. It's mostly just waiting around for him to attack you until vulnerable, but you know, it's classic Lego boss fight, I guess.
It's now a good time for another donation.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, sure.
All right, we got $45 from Bixel. That
Yeah.
says, good luck to all the runners and huge shout out to the moderation team for hosting this awesome event. $20 goes towards the LSW3 DS incentive and $25 to the LSW2 10 bounties run. And with that, the LSW3 inverted ship controls incentive has been met. And we're now, I believe, halfway to the LSW2 10 bounties run, which at this point is the last incentive. So maybe we'll see if we can get some more incentives for tomorrow, but for now, that's the last incentive.
Thank you so much, Bixel. A nice job, everyone who donated. It's great that we're getting to see so much support for this charity. That was a perfect time for that donation as well.
Yep, because now we're just finishing off year 1.
Yep. Pretty good year 1 there, I think.
Yeah, not bad. 23-20, I think. Pretty solid.
All right. We're now moving on to year 2, of course. That's the next episode that gets played here. So far we've unlocked a couple of spells. We have Wingardium Leviosa, Lumos, and Transfiguration. And we're going to keep adding spells to our wheel throughout the game. As we continue to do that, levels are going to get more and more complicated. So in this episode, we got a couple more spells we're going to learn. We're going to start off with a not so complicated level here with Flu Powder. Isn't too much as far as speed tech in this level. It's mostly just playing as quickly as possible, trying to route the rooms correctly. In this room, there's 3 different places that Ginny could be hiding in, and she's always in the 3rd one, so you have to unveil all 3 of them so that you can interact with the paint. So once you do that, we're now in Borgin and Burks, and to escape this room, we're going to need a key on the lock. Unfortunately, there's no real way to escape this room without clipping through the door, and there actually is a piece of tech in this game known as Accio clipping that allows you to clip through certain doors, but unfortunately the Accio spell costs like 4 million studs, and it isn't really something that's viable to get in this game, since there isn't a good way to grind studs that doesn't take forever in this game to get to 4 million. So unfortunately that's not going to be in the route, though some people might say that's more fortunately, because that spell does crash the audio engine.
Yeah, I'd say that's more fortunately.
Luckily, the game is still full of interesting skips and tech without that, so we still have a pretty cool run here, regardless. Coming up on the end of the split here, another relatively short level.
Yeah, that's one of the most simple levels. I mean, we didn't do any skips there, and it was still almost under 2 minutes, so it's much more simple. But we're going to start off right here with the pet walk. And this is for us to make our way over to the greenhouse for the next lesson.
Yeah, this small courtyard in the upper half of the screen is kind of in the same scene as these other 2 rooms. It's just further off away, which is really convenient because it means that we don't need to do the strength potion in that room, so we can just warp out. And now we are doing Mandrake handling here. Pretty straightforward lesson. You just have to put the 3 Mandrakes into pots here, and then we learn the ability to handle Mandrakes, which we will do a couple times throughout the run, but it's not an ability that's used all that often, fortunately, because it is a pretty slow one.
Yep. In fact, the first time we're meant to use it outside of this lesson is coming up right now, but we're going to skip it using plunger strats, which is something that we set up in year 1.
Yep. So we're going to do a wrong warp here with Ron here off of this flower pot thing.
There we go.
And that will put him in the other scene on the plunger, and he'll be able to just push this guy out of the way here by the door.
Yeah, this is really weird physics. This isn't supposed to happen. I think it's like, there's a very small chance as just a normal player you can push him out the way, but using the plunger makes it a consistent time save. And that's not the only time we're going to do that, because we have to do it again a little bit later.
Yeah. But fortunately, after year 2, the Mandrake and the guy despawn, so we only have to do that trick in that room in year 2. Which does make it fast. And that Lumos jump he did on the way up to the lesson there, you can just get some jump off some weird collision to skip having to do a Mandrake in that room as well, and that's used a number of times throughout the run as well. This lesson, this is the Mobulus lesson, and it's a little bit inconsistent because these pixies like to fly around to weird spots, but it looked like that went pretty well.
Yeah, it went pretty smoothly. We got a bit of RNG in the first phase with one flying all the way off to the right. I had to adjust wrong, but it's not too bad. And then going into Dobby's plan now. The game actually warps us directly to the bridge in that cutscene, which is quite nice. Means we don't have to do some more overworld movement.
Yeah, that is super fortunate. And on the way to the Quidditch place, warping to Hagrid's hut actually is not faster, because it's a little too far out of the way. It's not quite a better line than just walking through normally, so when we're on our way to the Quidditch, we're not going to do that warp.
Yeah, it might be slightly faster in real time, or maybe the same, but in game time, which is what this game's primarily timed on, it's not faster, so we don't use it.
Right. Once again, in a Quidditch level here, but this time we have to fight Dobby, and we have quite a few movement skips in this level. Seeing 2 of them right off the bat here. There's Lumos jump, and then this long jump. Nicely done. And that skips a whole bunch of stuff you need to do with Hagrid and pulling strength handles, but fortunately we can beat this entire room with just a normal Hermione character, so we don't actually need Hagrid. That's actually kind of a recurring theme with a lot of levels, is you're able to just beat them all with one player. Either that, or it's a really big 1P2C thing. That's like the 2 levels.
Yeah. Oh nice, we got a very instant hit on Dobby there. While I was moving over with Ron on player 2, I was switching over to Immobilus, because Immobilus has an auto-targeting feature. So basically the moment you break the closet that Dobby's hiding in, you can target him with Immobilus and instantly hit him, otherwise you have to wait for a while.
You might think that would be the end of the level, but there's actually a little bit more here in the infirmary, since Harry lost his bone because Lockhart's a bit of a dingus. So we need to make
no. That's unfortunate.
So if you enter that transition right as this cutscene begins to play, it ends up skipping it. But because the second room is in the same room as the first room, if you're a little bit too fast, it ends up just playing the cutscene when you're in the next room there. We'll get the last piece of the potion here, since there are 3 different pieces we need for the Skelegro potion. That's the end of that level. And as Paxo was saying, we're going to do the plunger strat here again to exit this room, since the Mandrake and the guy in front of the door are both still there. This version right here in this room is actually slower than not having to do this, but it saves so much time in the first time through this room that it ends up overall still being faster. And I believe we're on to Expelliarmus now.
Mm-hmm.
Since we're entering this room again, we're going to go ahead and get another piece of that Hogsmeade puzzle put into place here. And we have the one more piece left, which we'll do on our way out of this lesson. But first we have to kill some dummies here to learn Expelliarmus. Unfortunately, this spell auto-targets, so you can pretty much just stand still and spam to get the fastest attack. Which cleans these guys out pretty quickly.
Yeah, thankfully
Mind
this
if I
is...
sneak in a donation? Just
Sure.
a
Go
quick
crazy.
one. We got a $125 donation from Los that says "Hi Paxo," smiley face. And he said that is going to go towards the LSW2 10 bounties run. So all of the incentives have been met, and we just hit the $1,000 mark with that donation as
Yeah,
well.
let's
so
go.
thank you very much, Los.
Thank you so much, everybody that's donated. During that boss fight, we didn't get to see it, but you can kind of cheese it by just shooting at Malfoy as soon as he is about to pull out his wand, and you can just get him stuck in place and get all 5 of his hearts without having to do a proper duel, which is pretty nice. Since if you shoot too fast, he gets iframes, and if you shoot too slowly, he'll start to dodge you. And you'll see that right during that transition, the door, or the cutscene played for the door to Hogsmeade. So next time we enter that room, the door will be open. We enter it twice more before we actually need to use it. But in any case, it'll be open when we get there for year 3. But first we need to go through year 2. We're going to the Slytherin common room here, since I think we need to get people's hair for Polyjuice. I think that's what happens in the movie.
Yeah, I think so. So that was another cutscene skip right there.
Yeah.
We managed to exit the room just as we were waving to the wall with run. And being able to do that saves, in this category, like 5 seconds. In normal, standard any percent, about 30, I think.
Yeah, since that cutscene is a decent bit long, actually. But fortunately, the setup for that is really consistent, so pretty easy to hit. Going on the Polyjuice lesson here. Another potion you got to make. This one's a little more complicated as far as what you actually have to do compared to the last one, but it's still a pretty straightforward potion here. You just got to get 3 ingredients, put them together, and then we have to become a Hufflepuff. Justin Finch Fletchley is the one who we become, so that we can enter the prefect bathrooms. So we'll transform into him here, and be on our way back to the bathrooms, which are in the Grand Hall entrance room.
Yeah, so normally you're supposed to do some stuff now, or you should have done some stuff to be able to enter the bathroom, or the bathroom section, but we're not going to do that because we're going to skip that with something called trophy jumps. They're quite a precise and we must jump, but hopefully I get it first try.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. It used to be the strat that we would open this door at the same time as doing the path to Hogsmeade, and that would kind of overlap. But since these jumps were found, and since we only need to go up twice, excellent. Skip there. Since we only go up here twice in the whole run, it ends up being faster to just skip opening the trophy case. And we'll be on our way to the next level here, Crab and Goyle, where we become Crab and Goyle and infiltrate the Slytherin common room. Another potion here.
Okay, so I missed jumping on the toilet seat there to push it down first time. Thankfully, there's a nice backup we can do.
Yeah. It's actually a pretty complex room. There's a lot of steps you need to do for some of these ingredients. The one in the back with the flower is particularly complex. But once once we have all these ingredients on the floor, we have a piece of tech coming up in the next room called a pet recall. Basically, if you can position a transition between your character and your pet and recall them, they will hit the transition on the way back. As you can see here. It's a pretty situational piece of tech. It's super powerful, though, since it allows you to hit doors without opening them. And it's kind of like clipping in a way, but only for very specific kinds of doors where you can end up behind them. I think we do it about 4 times in the run, something like that.
Maybe even less than that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can only think of 3 off the top of my head.
But yeah, with that level done, we now go into the RNG section of the game.
Yes. So this next level is interesting for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's the only level in the game that we can like skip, like in its entirety, parts of it. Once you beat the first room of this level, that updates the flag that tells the game that you've completed the level, and you don't even have to play the rest of it. So after beating the first room, you can just exit out, and it lets you go to the next level, which skips a pretty lengthy section after that. But first, we have to fight Moaning Myrtle, and she likes to throw silver objects at you instead of interactable objects. It's random when she does that. It's more common in the later stages than in the earlier ones, but it is pretty unfortunate since this boss fight is pretty heavily RNG based.
Yeah, I should say for every silver I'm getting in this section, it's going to be $5 donated. So we got 1 right at the start, so that's 1. We'll see how many we get in this phase. See how much the game wants to drain my bank account. Okay,
So
that's
far,
2.
looking pretty good.
3. Uh-oh, here we go. 4. 5. Okay, 5.
Alright. That's probably slightly below average RNG. It's not like the end of the world, but you definitely would like to see better than that. But you know, it's out of your control. Nothing you can really do about that.
Yep.
So we're now following the spiders to the level. Follow the spiders, which will be at Hagrid's hut again. So we'll head back over there. There's quite a few levels actually that start in Hagrid's hut. Go there a lot.
Yep, and as it's Hagrid's hut, that means we can do the bridge warp again.
Yep. So we'll be on to that here in a moment.
Nice, that was about as clean as you could get, pretty much.
Yep. Good to see it. So far, so good with those. We are once again in the Forbidden Forest. We have a couple of jumps we can do here to skip this first section. And fortunately, we only need Fang and one of the 2 other characters, so we can leave our 3rd character behind. Unfortunately, we do need Fang, which is kind of annoying, since it'd be a lot easier to just finish this room with just Lumos jumping, but since we do need Fang as well to dig up something towards the end, we need to bring him along as well. Which means we have to do some of these puzzles we otherwise wouldn't have to, like building this ramp into the water here.
Yep, so what I'm going to be trying to do here is I'm going to be trying to warp Fang up to this top level. So first we're going to try for the God Warp, which is where he just warps up straight away. Okay, we didn't get that. That's generally to be expected. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop Fang out here, and then he should respawn back up top. Yep, there we go.
And that skips a cutscene of some, I think they're called bow truckles, building a ladder, and it is just a camera pan, but it's an excessively long camera pan. It's like 20 seconds or something crazy like that. So not having to watch that is really nice. And now we're on to the Aragog boss fight here. Just waiting for the black spiders to spawn in, and then you can throw them at Aragog. But if you put them underneath Aragog before you lift, you can skip the need to spin them before you throw them at him, because it hits the spiders hit him as they're being lifted, which saves a little bit of time there.
Yeah, the game only checks for the spider making contact with Aragog. It doesn't check for how it's got there, so you can do it like that, which is quite nice.
Yeah. One of the few boss fights that actually does have a decent bit of strat involved with it, as opposed to just kind of waiting around. Though, of course, there is still some waiting around. Speaking of waiting around, we have a bit of an auto-scroller section here at the end. It's the only, like, proper vehicle section in the run. Though, somehow it has better physics than, like, LIJ2's vehicle sections, which are a main point of that game and came out, like, right before this game, but, you know, it is what it is. I guess I'm glad they fixed that for this game.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, the main thing with this auto-scroller is sometimes the spiders will jump on the roof of the car. And if that happens, that's a little bit of time loss. So what you might have heard me doing was spamming the horn, because the horn is actually what shakes the spiders off. So it's just a small little thing that just basically keeps your speed there.
Yep. And after that, we are now on to the Basilisk, the final level of this episode. We, of course, need to go into the Chamber of Secrets to fight the Basilisk. But first, we're going to go talk to Professor Lockhart, since he was talking big game about being able to rescue people from the Basilisk. Of course, he's a phony, so that's not really the case, but he's now in our team here. And there's some weird collision on this bathroom stall that lets you just jump on top of it. It's kind of finicky, but there we are.
Yeah, I had to put down controller or player 1 for that jump in particular, because it's quite a precise spot you need to hit to be able to get the last jump up to the top. Thankfully we were able to get it pretty quickly.
Unfortunately, we do not have a skip for this room. There's a transition at the end of this room in the middle of the bathroom stalls on the right, but without having access to Accio, we don't have any way of skipping this room. It's quite a lengthy room, so that is unfortunate, but there's still some cool stuff to do in this room, so that's always cool.
Yeah, the way we end this room is quite cool.
Yeah.
We're going to end this room by doing a pet warp, but that pet warp's actually going to put us in a position where we can skip probably half of a camera pan. We'll see that coming up.
Yeah, after we get this plunger vehicle thing built and throw that into the toilet, that'll give us the rest of the pieces to build the door to the Chamber of Secrets here.
But yeah, so I've done the pet warp, and Scabbers is now positioned on top of basically this middle sink area, I guess. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk to the snake, and the snake is going to raise this middle platform. And actually, it's going to get to a point where Scabbers, I think, is going to hit the ceiling, or the collision unloads for the ceiling, and then Scabbers will just fall through during the cutscene.
Kind of a funny skip. I like that one.
Yeah, it saves a lot more time than you'd think as well.
Yeah.
There we go.
Speaking of things that save a lot more time than you think, the 2 jumps in this room also save a stupid amount of time versus the casual stride, which involves like an octopus or something. This room is meant to be significantly longer than it is, but it's very quick in the speed run. But now that we're fighting the snake, we need to build a strength potion, which involves some phases with the basilisk. So he's going to slam into these rocks, and each one of these gives us a piece of the strength potion. We need to do all of these in order to build the potion. And once we do that, we're able to advance to the second phase. This is one of the better boss fights in my opinion. It has quite a bit that you have to do in order to beat it. It's not just a bunch of standing around. So that's always interesting. I like it when the boss fights are actually more engaged in these games, since LEGO does have a tendency of having pretty uninteresting boss fights sometimes. So when they are more interesting, that's always a good thing to note. So now that we have all the pieces to the strength potion, we can go drink that and pull this strength potion lever on the side, which will trigger the next phase of this fight. And there's a bit of a skip in this next sequence here that requires desync off. For some reason, you can just jump through this collision with VSync off. This game has, you know, well-made collision detection, I guess. Kind of finicky sometimes, though. And with this sword throw, that'll be the end of the second year. Flying through this so far, we got first 2 episodes of this game done, with just 2 more to go.
Yeah, it's going pretty solid at the moment. That year 2 especially was pretty solid, so happy with that. This level, it's going to start off pretty boring, but the second part of this level is going to be quite an intense 1P2C section.
For sure. The first level of the first 2 episodes are pretty straightforward. Not a lot going on in them, but this level has a lot going on in it, and it's actually quite a cool level from a speedrunning perspective. There's a lot of tricks, there's a lot of 1P2C stuff, after this boss fight, of course, which is just a lot of waiting around. But we'll get to see some cool stuff in the back half of this level.
Yeah, definitely. This first part anyway is just making sure I'm kind of in the right place at the right time. So you can see I put Arthur Weasley on this bench here. That just means he can hit the painting a bit quicker. Just very tiny things like that that save maybe half a second, 0.3.
There is actually a out-of-bounds door in this room that skips this section, but it's currently not possible to be hit in vanilla, which is unfortunate, because it would save a lot of time if it could be, but even in free play with everything unlocked, it's currently impossible to hit. Okay, on to one of probably the most complicated 1P2C rooms in the game. There is a potion that needs to be built here. You'll notice Paxo is kind of taking a bit of a line that's a little further from the camera on top of the train. That's because there's a big cutscene trigger around where the coal car of the train is, and if you take a wide line, you can completely avoid having to interact with that cutscene, which is nice because it's a bit of a lengthy one. We almost are completed with the potion here, and then once we do that, we'll be on our way into the train section of the level, which actually has quite a few rooms. I think there's like 6 rooms in this level, because there's 4 still to go on the train.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to this level compared to kind of the other first levels, especially, we've seen in this game.
And that was a quick pet warp there, or sorry, a pet recall, excuse me, not a pet warp. We talked about those a bit in the 3rd level of the 2nd movie, and you can hit that trigger right there using Transfiguration. So 2 quick skips to get through those first 2 rooms. This room does not have a skip, but it is still pretty quick with some 1P2C here. And just have to open the door that exits this room. And we'll be on to the last room of this level, which has another interesting strat in it.
Yeah, so the gimmick of this section is Professor Lupin can't walk through these kind of moonlight areas, but we need him to kill the Dementors at the end by Harry. So what we can actually do is just hit them from a long way away, and then with Hermione we could be right by Harry so that the spell kind of stays active and hits the Dementors, and then we can immediately end the level.
Yeah. I like skips like that are... It's not even like a glitch or an exploit, it's literally just using intended game mechanics in a way the developers didn't think about. Pretty interesting thing there. Now we're on to the ridiculous lesson. This is a cool one as well. It's one of the few parts of the game that is actually faster with only one player, because if you switch characters at the right time, you can skip animations there. You saw with Hermione, if you switch off of her right as she shoots, it skips the entire animation of McGonagall. The end of the animation with McGonagall. Which speeds this up a decent bit. And that's the ridiculous lesson. That is the spell that Ron and Hermione get. Harry was absent from this lesson because of some shenanigans that happened during the cutscene. So he does not learn this spell. Between Ron and Hermione, Hermione has the faster animation for resolving these bogarts, so she is the one you want to use whenever there is one. Though I believe there's only a couple we even interact with in the run, like maybe 2, 3. I can only think of 2.
Yeah, I think there's only 2.
Yeah, including the one that you just did right there.
Yeah.
So, we're now on to divination. This is another spell that doesn't really unlock like a proper ability, but it's also pretty straightforward. It's just building some cups here. And you'll see that pretty fast lesson there that gives another gold brick, and then we'll be on to a much more complicated lesson here in a minute with buckbeak handling.
Yeah, I'd say this is probably the most complicated 1P2C section in the entire run coming up, so hopefully it goes okay. I mean, it's not easy even getting to the lesson because we're going to be doing another bridge warp.
Yep.
So we'll see how that goes.
If you remember from year 1 when we cleared out those pumpkins on the way to the Quidditch pitch, those pumpkins have since resolved, and the door to buckbeak handling is now open. One of the cool things I like about the hub in these games is that you can like open doors early, and there's all this interesting 1P2C routing between levels on top of the 1P2C within the levels. So there's 3 pieces of chicken in this room. And you need to get all 3 of them over to buckbeak. So Hermione's going up to one on the lake over there, and Ron is over here by the tree. And there's one more over by a bee hive on the right. There's quite a bit of obstacles in your way and platforming you have to do. So getting that bee hive out of the way will make those bees stop spawning in, which makes it quite a bit easier to get away from there, because they will hunt you down and follow you all the way to the end. And if they attack you, you drop the chicken. So yeah, a lot of interesting maneuvering here needed for all of these. And there's just one more piece of chicken over here. And after that one's put, we will have buckbeak handling, which is actually another ability I don't think is used. It might be required for entering a level later in the game, but I'm actually not sure, because it's impossible to get there without beating buckbeak handling. But yeah, Buckbeak handling complete. This is a honestly pretty cool lesson. I like it quite a bit, but it is rather difficult.
Yeah, it's one of the hardest ones to get down. I still don't fully have it down on a 1P2C, but it's definitely a fun one if you get it right. It's a good feeling. Wrong button with Hermione, that doesn't help. We're doing the second of our bridge jumps here. This is, again, so the bridge can stay down. We use it, I think, 3 more times in the run?
Yeah, I believe that's right.
Yeah.
4 more times in this episode than twice in episode 4.
And I think that adds up to about 20, 25 seconds of save, maybe? Because 2 are by Hagrid's hut, and the other one is, like, the tent halfway between. So it's a decent amount of save to keep the bridge down by doing both bridge jumps there.
Yeah, for sure. I think that skip saves something between 10 and 15 when you're going to Hagrid's hut, and then the one where you're going to the tent is more like 6 or 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
But still definitely worth it. And now we're going into Hogsmeade. Doors open from all the routing that was done earlier in the run. So open that. And this is another pretty cool level. There's a lot of interesting platforming in this first room. This first room is actually one of my favorite rooms in the game.
Same,
I like
yeah.
all the jumps.
Ah, that was too close. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm basically trying to get a lot of edge jumps. So it looks like I've run off the edge, but then I can just about get the jump in certain points. There's a little bit of timing you have once you've run off to be able to get a jump. And then one final Lumos jump on this staircase, if I don't fall off.
Something interesting I like about that room is how you can beat it, even though this game is, Lumos jumping is a big part of movement tech. You can beat that first room, like with all the fastest strats, and you'll literally only have to do one Lumos jump, because most of those platforms you can just get with like edge jumps. But there's another transfiguration strat in this room here to skip the cutscene and the snowman that Draco will throw at you. Quite a bit into the sky here.
I didn't quite get it, but I got a good respawn, I think. Yep, okay.
Still pretty fast there. And there is another boss fight here, but fortunately we get to skip it. This boss fight is actually, like, so long casually. Like, it's crazy how long it is. It's like a 2-minute boss fight or something, but we don't need to play it in the run, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That isn't actually the fastest strat to skip that boss fight either. There's a really precise Lumos jump that used to be done before transfiguration jumping was found. Thankfully, we don't have to deal with that anymore because it was really inconsistent to try and get.
Yeah, that was definitely, I think, the hardest Lumos jump in the game back when that's what everyone was doing.
Definitely.
Nice that we have a pretty fast, like barely slower strat to go with it, so that we don't have to worry about having a Lumos jump that hard right in the middle of the mid game there. All right, we're now on to Mischief Managed, doing a quick pet warp there to skip a little bit of movement. This is another pretty interesting level with some cool skips and 1P2C here, so we'll see some pretty extensive 1P2C routing in the first room here. This key on the left actually is supposed to be like a puzzle you do to get the vines away with like a torch or something, but Lumos is strong enough to just hit it from the ground, so you don't need to do that. And then once we get into this bigger room here, we'll have another potion to put together. Well, it's quite a few things we have to interact with throughout the room. So Ron is going to clear out this Bogart on the right, which will open the door to make a potion here. And Harry has opened up the strength handle, and he's going to try and get a few of the ingredients now. That's the tooth over there. And Ron just activated where the bone is, and then went and picked up the flower here. So now we have everything we need for the strength potion. This room, for some reason, doesn't have a split screen in it, which is weird. I guess it's not super weird because it's a pretty small room, but it makes the 1P2C kind of strange because you can't really... You have to stay within the binds of the camera, like with the earlier LEGO games. So you can't really do the same sorts of 1P2Cs you'd see in a lot of other rooms. This has a very interesting skip in it. We have to de-aggro Filch once we get to the top. So Pax is going to stand in a really specific spot with Harry. And once Ron gets up here, do some precise movement to get Filch far enough off screen that the game despawns him. And it worked there on the first try, so now we can continue to the next room, because those two statue things are not interactable until you... you're supposed to do like an invincibility potion, but when Filch despawns, it basically gives the same effect. Which is very convenient, because that potion takes a while.
Yeah, that was the one trick I was worried about kind of coming into this run. I've had a run of bad luck with that one, so to get that out of the way is quite good.
Yeah, good first try there. That was a pretty good split.
Yeah. So now we go on to the lesson that I think pretty much everyone forgets, Expecto Patronum, because it's sandwiched between probably 3 of the kind of more skip-heavy levels in the game. But this spell's important because Harry needs to be able to get rid of Dementors, essentially. It's just going to be Harry and Lupin in this lesson, so only Harry learns the spell. But it's useful in a decent amount of the next couple of levels anyway.
Yeah, we do have a couple of Dementors to fight off here in the near future. This is one of the more involved lessons as well. It's not quite as involved as Buffy Handling. There's a lot of spell switching, various things you have to do to clear these 5 Dementors. So Harry needs to kill all of the Dementors, but Lupin is basically here playing like support, opening up all these chests while Harry gets rid of as many Dementors as possible, since they only count if Harry's the one that kills them. Since Lupin is, of course, scared of the moon, not of Dementors. And with that, we'll be on to the final stretch of this episode. We got 3 back-to-back levels here. First one is probably one of the harder levels in the game, I think.
It at least has one of the hardest tricks in the game in the first room.
Sure.
We're going to be doing what's known as Angry Tree Skip. And yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah, so this is another skip that makes use of the pet recall mechanic, but the trigger to the next room is in a really awkward spot. So in order to get the trigger sandwiched between the pet and Hermione, you need Hermione to be under the floor. And fortunately, I guess, there is a place where you can stand under the floor, and you can get Crookshanks back in bounds, but it's definitely tricky to get there. So we're going to use Transfig to get out of bounds, and then we're going to try and get under the floor here. Hit the collision on that attempt, it looks like.
Yeah, so it's not just about hitting the floor below, it's hitting the floor below with enough space to be able to put Crookshanks down. Like that. There we go. So that was, even though it wasn't anywhere near first try, that's actually a pretty good attempt for that trick.
Yeah, that's definitely a tricky one, and you're not really upset if you don't get it first try. So Paxo's now going to attempt to get both players across this hole here, which skips quite a content if you fall down the hole, and it's important to have both players since there's another transfiguration strat at the end of this room that you need both players for. So having both of them here saves quite a bit of time. This is one of the older transfiguration strats before the current set of transfiguration jumping was known about. Since transfiguration changes the hitbox of your character, you can get them wedged underneath these vines, and then when they turn back into a normal human, they're just clipped inside of them. Skipping, needing to get the other two vines out. It's a pretty good split so far. Those first two rooms are pretty heavy with intense gameplay, but then we got a bit of a more relaxed section here with this boss fight to get all the pieces of this mousetrap out so we can capture Peter Pettigrew. And it's just a matter of waiting for him to hide in all the pieces of furniture, and then each piece drops one piece of the mousetrap. And after that, we have another quick room that is easy to forget about because it goes by so quickly, but a couple of Lumos jumps in this room to skip most of the content here as well.
Yeah, this is quite a difficult Lumos jump to actually get the second jump on for some reason. I got it that time, but didn't quite get the distance we needed. But yeah, this is snake jump. Wasn't actually too bad there.
Yeah, that was all right. So those 3 Lumos jumps. I was gonna say 2. I always forget about that last one that you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Those 3 skip all the intended puzzles in that room, making it a really linear room. We have a super tiny hub section until we're right back into another level here. This is the part of the movie where Harry and Hermione go back in time to do the part of the movie that we just saw in the last level, but as the time traveling portion. It's a bit of it's certainly an easier level than the last level, but there is still some strats in here. So this first room is mostly just trying to do the intended pieces of this room as quickly as possible to wake up Buckbeak and get him out of his chains. Involves feeding him some fish and chicken here. Then we'll be on to the next room in this level. And here we have a transfiguration strat coming in to skip having to do this whole puzzle that plays a long cutscene to get over a barrier there from like a lake that fills up in the bottom of the room. But we don't have to do any of that because we just skip it with transfiguration. And then we get this record disc and we put that in a gramophone over there, and that will I believe we're distracting Werewolf Lupin. That's what we're doing right now. And now we have to fight off some Dementors that are trying to kill the past version of Harry and Sirius Black. So, like we were saying earlier, it's a good thing that we learned that Expecto Patronum is we didn't need it to fight all these Dementors here. And Expecto Patronum is kind of a weird spell. It takes a bit of time to fire. You can't just like spam it like other spells. So unless you target it, you can't fire it again for a couple seconds. So with that spell, a lot of the time, it sometimes we'll target with it, and we'll see some more Dementors here in this level as well. This is a part of the movie, or part of the story that I don't really think is like actually in the movie or book that much. Like I think this was a pretty fast part of the story, but it turned into a whole level, I guess, if they didn't have any other ideas what to do in the 6th level in this movie. Um, so we're trying to rescue Sirius Black in this level, and there's a cool platforming skip here where you can get on top of this barrel. Use that to skip this flower cutscene we otherwise would need to watch, since we only need Harry up here. We don't need anything from Hermione. And we'll be on to the next room here, where we'll go down the left and the right side of this attic area and get Harry and Hermione across this set of platforms here. Then we'll be on to another room after this, which involves building a potion, another potion puzzle. This is one of the more complicated rooms as well. There's quite a few pieces of potion ingredients needed, and there's a lot of steps to get some of these, like this book puzzle down here. So, while Harry is getting the ingredients up at the top and fighting off his mentors, Hermione's going to do this book puzzle down here. And looks like the book puzzle is done now, so Harry is going to go grab the last piece of the potion over here from this tree. And these will be the final two pieces here. And after that, we'll have enough of a potion to build, or excuse me, yeah, to extend the bridge there with the strength handle. We'll be on to the boss fight then after that. This is another, yeah, as with most LEGO Harry Potter boss fights, there isn't too much to this one, but there is some interesting micro-strats to do. So we gotta get rid of some waves of Dementors here, and then when the King Dementor comes down, he'll get smacked in the face with a plunger, and we can actually, I think we like skip a cycle or something during this fight, like the way that we play it, like because we'll do the plungers early instead of late, like it speeds up all the cycles compared to what you're like supposed to do. Well, I could be wrong. I'm actually not sure like what the intended order here is. All I know is that once all these plungers hit him, that will be the end of this episode. We'll be on to the final episode of this run, year 4. Just a couple more Dementors left to kill here, and we'll be into that. Pretty high skill ceiling episode. I think a lot of people think that episode 3 is the hardest episode.
Definitely.
Yeah. With a lot of those levels in the middle of the episode, there's quite a bit of hard tricks to get through. But made it through that. And we'll be on to the first level of episode 4, which has one of the bigger skips in the run. I don't know if it's the biggest one or if the skip for the 4th level of year 2 is bigger, but it's definitely either the biggest or second biggest skip, I think, as far as the amount of time saved from it. But first we need to rescue all the Weasleys from the Death Eaters, since the opening cutscene of this episode played like the first 30 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Once quick Lumos jump over those fireworks there skips quite a bit of content, and then we're able to continue on to the next section of this level, which immediately we're going to do a head warp here, or a person warp, excuse me, to get Hermione out of bounds, and some tight movement right at the beginning there to remain out of bounds, and then once you're behind the level, you can walk all the way to the right, past all this intended gameplay, past a boss fight, and a cutscene that plays when you go to the boss fight, and there's an out-of-bounds door all the way over here that you can just barely hit Crookshanks. And that skips 2 cutscenes, and a boss fight, and a whole room of puzzles, and saves a large amount of time.
Yeah, that's quite a precise end trigger to hit as well.
Yeah.
you're near the limit of your jumping with how you can reach that. So to be able to get that first try is a pretty good sign for this run.
If they put that a little bit further away, we might not be able to hit it. So it's a good thing it's where it is.
Definitely.
So we're now on to the aging potion lesson. This is a pretty advanced looking 1P2C, but it's mostly just a really drawn out section because there's this whole color puzzle you have to do that takes quite a while. It's just a lot of pieces moving here. So Ron and Harry are getting this one piece of the potion up here with the leaf. And now Ron's going to be doing the colors, so you need to make all of the secondary colors with the primary colors here, and that drops the last piece of the potion. And meanwhile, since this is the slowest part of the room, Hermione will get the other pieces done. The leaf has already been put in the pot, and then the banana will get down from Crookshanks here. As Harry does the last color.
Yeah, interestingly enough, this is the only lesson where you don't have any split screen. So I actually have to be careful that you don't get a controller lockout here, which is where the camera's kind of pushed by the player and it causes basically the entire controller to lock up and then you can't move at all. Thankfully we managed to avoid that. With a gold as well.
Does happen, yeah, when that does happen, you have to restart your game actually to avoid hard blocking.
Yep.
It's not so great, but fortunately we don't have to worry about that. So we are now making our way first to the Grand Hall for a cutscene that we're going to skip because we have no cut, and then we'll be on our way to the second level of this episode. Year 4, since it's so late into the intended story of the game, there isn't that many lessons. There's only 2, since there isn't really too many new abilities to learn. So this episode is mostly levels, and they also put a decent amount of pieces of the hub, like what we just did, where you have to run to a place to watch a cutscene and then run away, since I guess they were running out of content by this point. Since we're once again going to Hagrid's hut here, we're going to see the bridge warp here again. This is the 5th of the 6 bridge warps we're going to do in the run. Like we said, this is pretty cool that this works. This is Dragons. Paxo said he was going to give this version of the skip a try here. It's a pretty broken level, and there's a couple ways to skip the first room, but this is a particularly cool way of doing it with the dog here.
Yeah, I'd also argue this is the most difficult way of doing it. Technically, it's the most optimal. You can save like 3 seconds with it, and I think we're going to be saving pretty much all of that here, because that was super clean. Taking no deaths while doing that is basically amazing if you can get that, so...
Wow.
That was insane.
Yeah, that was really well done. Wow.
I don't think I've ever done that clean before, so we take those.
And now we can do a quick Lumos jump here as well to get over this invisible wall and skip those dragons, and then we just have a bit of a puzzle here in the last room. Get around these dragons. This is the one time in the run that we use the invisibility cloak that we unlocked in year 1. Since it's really not that useful an ability, but we do need it to get by that dragon. And then we'll be on our way through the rest of this room. So we need to get Fang to the bottom of the room, and actually Fang and Hagrid to the bottom of the room, and Harry to the top, so that we can lower this door to exit the room, and that'll be the end of the dragons level here.
That was an insane dragons.
Yeah, pretty awesome split there. That was a really cool room 1 skip there. Alright, So on to our last lesson of the run now. We're going to go run to Reducto. Unlike in 5 through 7, we do have to unlock Reducto in this game, though. Like 5 through 7, Reducto is a really simple lesson that just involves destroying some silver metal objects, and that's the entire lesson. So we'll be on to that here in a minute, and then we'll have all these spells unlocked from a normal gameplay run of the game. We'll have nothing but 4 levels left for the remainder of the run after that. So, yeah, I think the plot of this lesson is that Neville misfired a spell, and then a bunch of students have metal objects on them now. I might be misremembering, but I think that's what it is.
No, that sounds about right. It sounds like a Neville thing to do anyway.
So yeah, that's a super fast split, especially with no cut. Even with cutscenes, that's like less than like 90 seconds long, I think. And without, it's even shorter.
Yeah, without cutscenes, it's under a minute.
Alright, and once again, we're going to head back over to the grounds near Hagrid's hut here for the first task of the Triwizard Tournament. Since that is what's happening in this movie, we do have to... 3 of the remaining 4 levels are going to be the tasks of the films, or of the Triwizard Tournament, excuse me. But on our way to the first task, we have to do another bridge warp here to get to the tent. So we'll get there in a minute here.
There we go.
That'll be the entrance of Triwizard Tournament. This is another very broken level. This first room has a ton of skips in it. There's a whole bunch of nonsense you're supposed to do, but we're going to do pretty much none of it. There's a loopy skip right here at the beginning that jump up the collision. It's kind of strange in this corner. A little bit inconsistent. It has a habit of getting you most of the way up and then not getting a jump again, which is unfortunate. You can blame Loopy for that one.
There we go. Yeah, that's I think of that as an RNG skip. According to Zerathix and T-Fresh, it's not completely RNG, but it feels like it. Or it's close enough to RNG for it to just be classed as RNG.
Yeah, and we have a series of Lumos jumps here to skip all these puzzles as well. Only actual thing you have to interact with is that bucket of water there, which you're actually able to skip, but I don't think anyone has saved time with that in a run. It's such a small thing anyway.
And it's such a tough skip for it as well.
Yeah.
It's like a pixel jump, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's something pretty, like you need to get a really good Lumos jump off of like a pixel jump or something. I don't remember, but it's pretty involved for what it skips. Oh, wow. So we're on to an auto-scroller section here, running away from the dragon.
I suppose now is a good time to come in with a pretty big donation.
Yeah, I'd say
Go
so.
for it.
We have another donation from Zerathix, a $218 donation. Says,
Yay.
"Aye, let's beat this donation record." Also, good luck, Paxo. And that is a new record for LEGOthon, up to $1,218.
Let's go.
So thank you for that big donation and your other big donation yesterday.
Thank you guys so much for all of the donations this year. It's really cool. I think the last time when we had the 1217, we had a channel point thing going that really boosted our total donation record. So getting to beat that just off the back of people donating money is actually like really cool. So thank you guys so much for all the money that you been donating to charity here. I'm sure they will really appreciate all the work we're doing here. So thank everybody so much. So next we're going to be going to the bathroom level. I don't remember what it's called. Secret of the Egg is what it's called. It's the egg level, yes.
It's about that memorable, yeah, don't worry.
Yeah.
Compared to all the other levels in Year 4, this one doesn't exactly have too much going for it. It's more kind of just some 1P2C that if you get the right route, it's not too bad. But we are going to do trophy jumps before we re-enter the level. So we'll see how those go this time.
Yeah, so this is another example of the part of the run where it just sends you off to go watch a cutscene before sending you back to where you just were.
Yeah,
It does like to do that in this movie.
even in standard any percent, that cutscene is probably about 20 seconds, and you have to do probably about 40 seconds of movement.
Yep.
Alright, there we go. We got it second try. That's not too bad at all. We'll take that.
Yeah. Good backup on it, too. You didn't have to do the first one again. So yeah, this is Secret of the Egg coming up. 2 rooms in this level, and it's very much just a try and route the 1P2C as good as you can sort of deal. We have Moaning Myrtle as our player too, so she's just in this bathroom, I guess. We need to get these like 4 shells to open a door to the second portion of the bathroom, which is down a set of stairs, which doesn't really make sense, but I'm not gonna question it, I guess. I don't know why there'd be like a bathroom underneath a bathroom, but anyway. So we got these shells coming out here, and we're gonna open up this door with that. There's actually a skip for this in Replay Story using Accio, but unfortunately we don't have a way of skipping that in main story. We don't really have a way of flipping into here, and we can't use Transfiguration in this level either to do something crazy like with the Angry Tree skip. And, this room is also pretty straightforward. It's just interacting with the mermaid in the painting to try and turn on the bubbles in the bath. That's about all we got to do here. Doesn't throw scorpions or something at us, though. I guess those are probably crabs, not scorpions, lobsters or something.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah. Once she throws out this last piece here, we'll put that into the faucet on the right, and that'll raise the water level so that we can view the secrets of the egg, which will tell us information about the second task, which is the next level that we'll do after this. We just got 2 more levels after this. We got the second and third task here, and then we'll be finishing up this run. So getting close to the end here. This run really does kind of fly by, especially without the cutscenes. You get through these movies very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, each movie is about, I think it's less than 25 minutes in-game time. I think it might be a little bit more for year 1 and 2 real time, but they're pretty rapid. They come at you pretty fast. Especially this year. This year can be done, can be done in under 20 minutes. I don't think we're quite on pace for that at the moment, but maybe close.
Yeah, we'll have to see how these last 2 go, I guess. But this is definitely the movie with the least amount of content, because I guess they didn't have too many lesson ideas. I would have thought they'd done something with like the Yule Ball or something, but maybe they couldn't figure out how to convert that into gameplay. That's like a whole segment of the movie that's completely absent from the story here. Now we're into the Black Lake, which is a water level, the only one in the game, and as being the only water level in the game is, of course, very broken. We'll see in a second here. We can get out of bounds using some spells and the knockback of the spells off of certain kinds of slopes. And then once we're out of bounds, we can kind of just skip everything, and we'll go ahead and do that here, and we'll do it again in the next room.
Bit of an unfortunate death there first time, but we're good that time.
Now, we are way under the map, but still within the water plane. So we're able to just swim past all of the obstacles since there's no collision or anything in our way under the map. And just swim into the gigantic trigger at the end of this room, which will take us to the second room. And once again in the second room, we're going to be able to do the exact same piece of tech again off of this slope here. And get under the map again, and just swim once again to the end of the map. And this will take us into the final room, which does not have an out of bounds, since the objective of that room is to rescue the students that got kidnapped by the mermaids. So the mermaids in this room are they're a little interesting. Definitely not my favorite enemy in this game, I'll tell you that much.
Not at all.
They are a little tricky to kill, since I think it has something to do with invincibility frames on them. But sometimes they can take a lot of hits without dying, and sometimes they don't. Definitely a tricky enemy, but hopefully good. Okay, sometimes Cedric can get pulled through the wall if the mermaid's in the background aggro on him, but fortunately that did not happen, so this should be good.
There we go, that's it.
So that's the end of the second task, rescuing all the students, and now we'll be on to the third task here. And the last level of the run.
Yep, but first, before we do that, we've got to basically make our way all the way up this central staircase.
Yes, this is the one time in this run that we go up these staircases. This staircase, excuse me. All the way up to Dumbledore's office. Unfortunately, in 100%, you actually have to climb this staircase twice, because you have to do it once to get to the level, and then after you beat the level, the Dumbledore's office part of the hub opens up, and then you have to climb the staircase again to get all the way up to it, which is not exactly the greatest thing, because pretty slow to get up this staircase. There's a lot of waiting around for the staircase to, like, shift. But that'll do it for this staircase for right now. We'll be into the third task. First couple of rooms here involve building a statue in the center of the room, which you then have to get to turn towards these triggers on the sides of the room and follow the directions it points. Fortunately, it points in the same direction every time, so runners can just memorize the order that they need to go, and then as soon as the statue starts turning, you can just run into all of the triggers, not have to wait for it to actually finish its animation. And the third one here, kind of a compilation of all the various spells that were learned in the game in this level. You use most of them in this level. Maybe not Reducto, but all the other ones I think you use.
You don't use Patronum either.
Oh yeah, I guess you're not using Ridiculous either. Okay, well, maybe like half of them get used then.
It's fine, we use the good spells, that's all that matters.
Yeah, for sure. We really are approaching the end of the run here. We just have the rest of this room and then 2 more after that. So we'll run through this room as quickly as possible. There isn't too many obstacles in our way, and the ones that are in our way are pretty quick to resolve. But there is a puzzle in the next room that we're able to skip. The riddle of the Sphinx is not something we need to worry about, because the top of his head does not have collision. You just jump right over him.
Yep, that's very nice. I love that skip.
And we just have the final graveyard battle here. And basically the thing here is you kill Death Eaters, and then when they're all gone, Voldemort jumps down, you do a little battle with him. It's a super fast-paced boss fight here. There's not too much gameplay, and you clear everyone pretty quickly.
And time is now. Oof. that was a pretty insane run, actually. That's a PB by about 28 seconds IGT, so we take those.
I think that's the. I'm not sure if that's the first PB of LEGOthon.
I think Laser PB'd the run before,
Oh, okay. I see.
but yeah, not too bad. First things first, thank you so much to Chimkin for standing in, like, right at the last minute. That was really good commentary in that, so thank you so much for that.
Thank you for the great run here. This was an excellent showcase of the game.
Yeah, and also for the community, shout out to T-Fresh, Zerathix, Frost, Origin, basically anyone that's run this game, Seed, Laser, Justin, you know, everyone, thank you so much. Chimkin, anyone you want to shout out?
Oh, I think you covered the laundry list there. Yeah, big thanks to the community. It's a great community surrounding the LEGO Harry Potter games, and it's
Absolutely.
So cool that they both have been pushed so far. It's a really cool pair of games.
Yeah.
I'm glad people like them as much as they do.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much for having me in LEGOthon, and throw it back to Justin now.